Hi, I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. A special thank you to my patrons, Wild Rose, Lauren Chris, That British Unicorn, Jam Beans, Debbie Elliott, and D. Higgins. So we're back at it again with another chit chat, get ready with me, and article review. Today we've got the New York Times. I know, schmancy. We're moving up in the world. The article is called Wanting to Fight Discrimination. The article is called Wanting to Fight Fat Discrimination, but Still Wanting to Lose Weight. As always, I'm going to have it linked down below. Please go read this and tell me what you guys think. And, you know, with that, I kind of want to have a discussion. I always really appreciate all the comments everybody leaves me. I read all of the comments, even if I don't necessarily get a chance to respond to everything, especially now with like Vlogmas happening. Like I just don't get an opportunity sometimes, but I read everything. And as always, we're also going to be doing our face at the same time. I've said before, and I'll say it again, my mirror is like right here. So if I'm not looking at you guys, I'm looking in the mirror. I don't want to look like a clown. What can I say? As always, same base makeup, Too Faced Born This Way foundation. My shade and everything like that is always listed down below if you guys are interested. You know how I feel about this foundation. It's fine. I'm going to use it up. I mean, especially right now because I don't have to go anywhere. So the consequences of wearing a foundation like this are severely reduced. Because if it breaks down in a few hours and gets real greasy, you know what? I'll just take it off. I'm not leaving my house anyway. I decided to like spice up my outfit a little bit by wearing these. But it occurs to me now that they're going to jingle every time and my mic's probably going to pick it up. So your girl's going to take them off, all right? So let's start talking about the article. So the first question that this article asks us to consider is, can you be fat positive, body positive, and still want to lose weight? The definitions of most of these things are a little bit nebulous. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. Somebody else, could look at the same situation and using their definition of body positivity, fat positivity, it could mean something different. I would think that body positivity means that you love your body no matter what size it's at, right? You love your body. You appreciate the fact that, you have the ability to move around. You appreciate the fact that it's keeping you alive. You appreciate all the things that your body gives you the ability to do. And you try and nourish it and take care of it to the best of your abilities. And sometimes that means weight loss. Sometimes that means weight gain. Sometimes that means just improving, your muscle mass and definition. Sometimes that means, being lazy and sitting on the couch for a day and letting yourself recover. It's just trying to do what's best for your body because your body is you and you are your body and you got to take care of one to take care of the other. That's what I would think body positivity means. And it also means that people can't discriminate based on the size of your body, right? Like that should also be a principle, I would think, of body positivity and fat activism. I know they talk about it, about how fat individuals are discriminated against, but a lot of their examples of this discrimination are very silly. For me personally, what I would think counts as discrimination would be this study that they conducted where they looked at whether or not fatter people were considered to have as much leadership potential as their thinner counterparts. That I thought was very, very telling. And I would very much disagree with anyone who says otherwise, right? Like being fat is not an indicator of whether or not you'll be a good corporate boss, be a good corporate leader. That I think is extremely ridiculous. But if you're talking about, once more, and I've said this in the past as well, that if someone comes in seeking a job and the job requires lifting, 100 pounds of weights at a time, or I'm exaggerating, of course, but 50 pounds of weight, say, you have to lift up, and you have two people come in and one is of an average weight and the other person is significantly heavier, you might think to yourself, well, I don't know if the heavier person has the ability to lift boxes that heavy. They don't seem to be in the best physical fitness. And I think that that's a fair factor to consider. It shouldn't be the only factor you consider, but it should definitely be a factor, right? Like, that I don't think is fat phobic. Ann Coleman considers herself to be body positive, part of a social movement that accepts different body shapes and sizes. She takes pride in her appearance and has attended size acceptance events like the CurvyCon, an annual convention celebrating plus-size brands and individuals, and an early screening of Fatitude, a film about weight stigma. And yet Miss Coleman, who weighs more than 200 pounds, would like to weigh less. She doesn't want to be skinny, just able to move around more easily. I want to walk a certain distance without getting out of breath, said Miss Coleman, 32, who works in an attorney recruiting at a Manhattan law firm. I want to walk around New York in the summer without sweating to death. I'd like to climb Machu Picchu. It's an issue she regularly wrestles with. As someone who supports size acceptance, the right of all people to not be judged for weighing as much or as little as they want, Miss Coleman wonders, is it okay to rail against fat discrimination but still want to lose weight? Or does that make her part of the problem? I've had a lot of people question whether I truly love myself if I want to be thinner, she said. So the article starts off with an individual. I think the name was Ann Coleman, but I'll throw everything up. As always, probably have inserts of me reading the article in here as well, because my memory is bad. Anyway, she talks about how she fully believes in fat acceptance and body positivity, but that she still wants to lose weight because she wants to be in slightly better health. She wants to have the ability to do things like, climb Mount Rushmore, or I think it was Machu Picchu, actually, she said. She wants to be able to climb Machu Picchu and move around with ease and not feel so hot and sweaty when she's walking around New York City. And that's a really, really fair point, I would think, that, I think a lot of people mistake weight loss intentions, like for health reasons, with weight loss intentions for aesthetic reasons. There's nothing wrong with having aesthetic goals. Absolutely, right? Like if you want to lose weight because you want to look a certain way, there's nothing wrong with that inherently, I think. But a lot of people don't do it from an aesthetic point of view. That might be a factor, but it's not the factor. A lot of people want to lose weight because they have adverse health outcomes, especially the older you get, I feel. So today the palette that we're using is the Melt Cosmetics Smoke Sessions. I love this palette, but oh my god, these metallics, they like give me life. They are so stunning. They're absolutely beautiful. They I love them. They're everything. But they are so crumbly. They this will crumble into nothingness, and I have such a hard time using this just like plain. I have to use this with a a damp brush, otherwise the shadow is just so crumbly. I don't know if it's the pressing or what it is, but it'll chunks of it will come off. So the first color that I'm using is the color Space Queen. She doesn't want to be a skinny legend. She doesn't want to lose a ton of weight and look like people out of a magazine. She just wants to enhance her life. And this feeling here about not wanting to become a skinny legend is, I think, something I wish more people would embrace. The vast majority of people who lose weight are never going to end up looking the way that a person who is, say, naturally thinner would look, right? They're never going to end up looking like skinny minis. They're never going to end up being very, very thin. The vast majority. Not everyone, of course. But if you are massively overweight, more than likely, all of your weight loss attempts are going to lead you to a place where you're just going to be less fat, where you're just going to be less obese. And I think that is acceptable. I don't think everybody needs to aim to be, you know, say if you are 300 pounds, you don't have to aim to be 120 pounds. If you can get to the 200 pound mark and just maintain that weight, that is amazing in and of itself. And the reason for that is that just losing even 10% of your body weight can really, really impact your health outcomes. It can severely increase the quality of life that you have. It can do great things for you. You don't have to become the thinnest, the skinniest, the, you know, most aesthetically pleasing thin person. I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I mean to say is that you don't have to be the pinnacle of like early 2000s fashion models to experience the benefits of weight loss. Now, those might be your aesthetic goals. You might want to get there, but if what you can manage is losing 20%, 10% of your body weight and maintaining that for the rest of your life, like that is amazing. You will feel better, you will do better, and you'll just live a healthier life overall. And I think that's the point that she touches upon here, that she doesn't feel the need to become extremely skinny. She just wants to lose a little bit of weight so she can just lead a more full and rich life, right? And everybody's version of a full and rich life is going to be different. For her, it's being able to move with ease around New York City and climbing Machu Picchu. For someone else, it might be being able to stand for hours on end, you know, while you take still photography or do pottery work or have endless energy to play with your kids or, you know, whatever, etc., etc., etc. I'm still using the same color, by the way. I'm just using little bits of it to darken and build out my like the outer edges of my eyes. And once more, when you've got slightly hooded eyes the way that I do, you want to drag the color just slightly upwards and create like I guess you could create a false arch right here. Like I'm doing it right above where my actual like deepest set point would be. So my deepest set point, you guys can see, is right here. Where I apply color is just slightly above that, just like right here. So the darkest point is right above where it would go on most people, so that when I open my eyes, you guys can see it. Otherwise, it gets hidden in the fold of my skin, and no one sees it, and then it can look a little bit harsh and unblended even when it is. And I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with that. I don't think there is anything wrong with just wanting to be capable of doing more. I don't think anyone should feel like they're less of an activist or like they failed in their goals somehow just because they feel like they're being limited by something in their body. Like, I had gone to Yellowstone. I've mentioned a couple times before, but I'd gone to Yellowstone and I was not exactly in great shape. I'd had a couple of health complications the previous year, and overall, I was pretty out of shape. But, you know, you're going to Yellowstone, you're going to national parks, and I went to more than one, and they had some absolutely stunning hikes, including one that was like a full day, 8.5 mile like hike, like 8.5 miles in one direction, I think it was, or maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but I wanted to do that hike so bad. I mean, the views were absolutely stunning for it. I knew I'd be tired by the end of it, but I wanted to do it. And so I trained my ass off for it. Like literally, I worked and worked and worked, and I lost weight, and I got to a healthier place so that I could do those hikes. And it has nothing to do with aesthetic goals and everything to do with the fact that this was something I wanted to do to enrich my life, and my body was keeping me from doing it. And so I changed something. Ooh, the fallout is real. Her feelings are similar to those expressed by author Roxane Gay, who once weighed 577 pounds and has discussed her own ambivalence about weight loss. I worried that people would think I betrayed fat positivity, something I do very much believe in, even if I can't always believe in it for myself, she wrote in a 2008 essay on Medium, after admitting that she had undergone weight loss surgery. I worried that everyone who responded so generously to my memoir, Hunger, would feel betrayed. I worried I would be seen as betraying myself. As Ms. Gay here talks about, Roxanne Gay talks about here, this is my worry with people who only have friends in this one community, right? People whose entire social circle is reliant on other fat activists, people whose income relies solely on doing work in the fat activism space. Because if they ever change their mind, they decide, look, I think maybe for me it's best if I start losing weight, right? So like Val from On Program, she said that one of the consequences of her weight was that one of the consequences of your weight can be something like fatty liver disease. And if you are trying to lose weight to essentially just fix this situation, but your entire social circle is people who believe that any form of intentional weight loss is harmful and makes you fat phobic, all of a sudden you're going to be stuck with this diagnosis where you have this weird problem where you can either try and fix it without medication but lose all your friends, or you take medication which could potentially have side effects, could be extremely costly, and can have other problems with it too, just like sourcing, for example, can be difficult with some medication, and you can retain your friend circle. And I don't think that's a fair position that anybody should be in. Much like your finances, diversify your friend group. Trust me, having differing opinions within a friend group is so important. I have friends who lean more like the classical definition of libertarian, which is not Republican. It's very social. Like my friends are very socially. They tend to be very like socially and like morally, I guess you could say, more Democratic, and then when it comes fiscally, they're more like Republican, you know? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I don't agree with them 100% of the time, but I don't think there's anything wrong with having friends who come from a diverse range of backgrounds. It can really be very, very illuminating. All right, so I'm now using the color Blue Dream, which is absolutely amazing and I love it, but oh my God, that's this flake. It flakes like a SOB. Like I've tried repressing it too. Oh my God, it's just hard. I have to really wet it down. If you're getting this palette, I mean, just know that that's something you have to look forward to. Do you see? Oh God, do I love it. It's why I think that Obesetobeast series, where he talks about the darker side of obesity, he's talking to people who were formerly fat activists. I think both Charlie Gold and Manal, who is an OG creator in the Hater Nation, were both featured on his live streams. And I think they're so popular because you see what happens when you sort of trap yourself within this chamber where only one opinion is the acceptable one. Studies back this up. Most weight loss efforts are ineffective in the long term and can lead to weight cycling, a risk factor for hypertension and diabetes, among other health problems. According to a 2005 report in the American Journal for Public Health, the probability of an obese person ever attaining a normal body weight is low. Most people who do lose weight gain it back within 5 years. I'm so disappointed in the New York Times for including this piece of information. No, weight cycling is not detrimental to your health. it can be detrimental if you are a thinner individual. If you are a thinner individual, there is actually evidence suggesting that constantly cycling to a higher weight and then coming back down to a lower weight, even if both of those weights fall within the healthy spectrum, is not good, because you can end up replacing lean muscle with fatty tissue, and that can be harmful. That can lead to, like they say in the article, an increased risk of diabetes and hypertension. That said, people who are already morbidly obese, people who are already overweight, there is no evidence suggesting that yo-yo dieting negatively impacts them. And there's, in fact, rat studies saying that it might be beneficial to them to do so. Now, once more, human beings are not rats, so take that with a grain of salt. But there's no compelling evidence to prove otherwise. And I want people to stop repeating this. It upsets me so much to hear people say this over and over again. Like, I feel like I keep having to repeat myself until I'm blue dream in the face. Haha, get it? Because that's the name of my eyeshadow. Don't unfollow me for a terrible joke, please. And although many appreciate the work of larger-bodied celebrities like Lizzo, Chrissy Metz, and Joy Nash, size discrimination is very much alive. Piers Morgan, for example, slammed Cosmopolitan UK for featuring the plus-size model Tess Holliday on its cover. Apparently, we're supposed to view it as a huge step forward for body positivity, he wrote on Instagram in 2018. What a load of old baloney. The Tess Holliday cover shot, God. Here's the thing about that. When I first saw it, it wasn't like I saw it and immediately every single brain cell that I had just immediately lit up and was like, anger! The reason that I did not like that entire article, the reason why I had such an issue with it was because I think the tagline for it was like, fit at 300 pounds or something like that. I'll throw it up, of course. I might be misremembering the exact words that they used. But that is why I found it so upsetting. I'm now using the color Mean Green. I'm just using a little bit of Max Fix Plus to just wet my brush. I made a little puddle of it here, and I'm using that to dip my brush into as a sort of mixing medium. Mean Green isn't quite as bad as Blue Dream, which is my favorite color, but it's so hard to work with. There is no way that you can put a woman who is 300 pounds at 5'2" on the cover and say shit like fit and healthy or any of those words. Like, none of those words are true, because it doesn't matter if currently she is, as fat activists like to say, metabolically healthy. All the evidence that we have suggests otherwise. So when you have a cover like that and you're advocating and pushing for this idea that even though, she's this heavy, she's healthy, therefore you can be healthy. First of all, Tess Holliday has a shit ton of money. She's going to be fine because she has that money. She has the available resources to address any sort of issues that might come up as a result of her morbid obesity, right? An average person would not have that, right? So if something goes wrong with me, I don't have that kind of resource available to me, that wealth available to me to get the situation fixed. So there's that you want to consider. The other thing that you want to remember is that just because she does not suffer any consequence ever in her entire life doesn't mean that everybody statistically will be able to do so. In fact, science has very often shown us that will not be the case. So raising her up as the person to look at and using her as the example for everyone creates this idea in people's head that the statistics are wrong and that if she can be healthy, then I can be healthy. And therefore, these consequences that scientists are warning us about are in fact fat phobic, which is already a problem that science apparently has to deal with, where a lot of people will think that they're doctors, they're you know, just like lab workers, everybody, anyone in the mental, like the health field, right? Both research and in clinical practice. All of them are just fat phobes because they're talking about how your weight can negatively impact you. Fat shaming is also playing out during the global COVID-19 pandemic. Recent studies have linked obesity to an increased risk of complications from the coronavirus. These findings, size activists argue, only exacerbate the vitriol they already feel, especially by the medical establishment. Fat people have faced tremendous stigma from doctors and tend not to seek medical attention until their illness is more advanced, said Reagan Christian, 43, an activist in Los Angeles who blogs at Dances with Fat. She said that in addition to sheltering in place to protect others, the fat people I know have been strictly observing quarantine because of a fear that we will experience weight stigma if we do need medical care. People are mad at scientists because they're telling them that, hey, obesity is a factor in COVID-19, and people are saying, well, that's fat phobic because now people who are obese will not want to go to their doctors until their symptoms worsen. I can understand fat people feeling that way, and I'm sorry that you feel that you cannot go to your doctor to talk about this. But not putting the information out there puts people in the position where they might not be aware that they are at increased risk for developing COVID-19 because they are in this category. That would be like doctors withholding the information from patients that one of the biggest risk factors for for contracting this virus is age. Not because, you know, it might put elderly patients in a position where they feel too susceptible and might not go to the doctors. No, the truth is the truth, and it needs to be out there. It needs to be presented. People need to know about it so that they can choose what is the best course of actions for themselves. Taking away people's ability to make that decision because it might potentially be fat phobic is idiotic. I am now using Becca's Shimmering Skin Perfector Poured in the color Pearl. You guys can't see. Well, let me see. There you go. No, that's going to be backwards. Okay. I love the poured versions of them during the winter time. I feel like they just look a little bit better. They can get a little bit dry. It's easy to fix with like a drop or two of pretty much any oil. I also don't like this idea that if everybody accepted you being fat, then nobody would want to lose weight. No. If you had a disease that can be easily alleviated with weight loss, and even if it was socially acceptable or even desirable for you to be fat, and then the doctor comes to you and says, hey, look, if you don't lose weight, you know, you could die. Do you think that even in that case people wouldn't want to lose weight? Like, there are people who are anorexic, right? People who don't want to eat because they think being skinny is more important than anything else. And doctors have told them in the past that, hey, if you don't gain weight, you could potentially die. And, you know, I'm sure there was a lot of therapy and other, you know, treatments that were recommended and that probably aided in people's recovery when it comes to eating disorders. But that's definitely one of them. A doctor telling them that, look, your life is at stake here. That it might be enough to jolt some people out, you know, of the sedentariness that can set in when you have a mental illness. Sometimes it's just easier to deal with the beast you know than to try towards a path of recovery where you might be confronted with factors that you can't control and that you might not know. So just on that point, I don't understand. All right. I think next time I wear this eyeshadow palette, I'm going to do my concealer and stuff afterwards because I always forget and then I always end up getting fallout and then my like highlighter ends up looking a little bit green and it upsets me. I mean, you can't tell on camera, but it is like if you guys see it, it's like green like right here. Just a little bit, just enough that it's like, it's irritating to me, but not so much that like if I was even getting ready to go somewhere else that I would really notice. A 2013 study from Columbia University found that obesity contributes to nearly 1 in every 5 deaths amongst Americans between the ages of 40 and 85. And the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention links obesity with heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and some cancers. The tricky thing is that people who advocate health at every size are sort of assuming that people who are overweight don't have any health issues, said Katie Rickle, a clinical psychologist and chief executive of Structure House, a psychologically oriented residential weight facility in Durham, North Carolina. The vast majority of our folks have diagnosable health conditions that would be corrected with weight loss. All I have to say to this lady is, preach it, Katie Rickle, do it! In her essay, Miss Gay put it this way: I had to face the extent of my unhappiness and how much of that unhappiness was connected to my body, she wrote. I had to accept that I could change my fat body faster than this culture will change how it views it, treats it, or accommodates fat bodies. Look, I fully side with this person. I fully understand that fat phobia hurts people. I fully understand that being ridiculed for being fat, being accused of laziness, of bad character just because you happen to be fat, you know, that has a negative impact on a person, right? Myself included. All of that can negatively impact you. It can negatively impact your mental health. It's bad. I completely agree with that. I can fully sympathize with people who are in that position. But at the same time, not losing weight means that you live a shorter life, right? That's bad. Not losing weight means that you potentially could become susceptible to other comorbidities that come with obesity. Maybe cancer, maybe diabetes. You know, we don't know. You could pass on. So, this is mostly the completed look. I'm going to add this beautiful lipstick. It is the NYX High Voltage lipstick in the color Feline. It is this chocolatey, lovely brown. I actually really love the High Voltage formula. I think it's stunning. And there you have it. That's the final look. What do you guys think? It is definitely more than a little bit dramatic, but you know, I think it's perfect for a casual night in. These are my earrings. I have this like little pack that someone gifted me. It's got like a bunch of mix and match like floating earring thingies, but I think it's pretty cute. I think they look nice. Anyway, please go ahead, read this article, tell me what you guys think. I firmly stand in the belief that body positivity is a good thing. Fat activism, I'm more unsure about. But you should be able to be body positive, to love your body, to appreciate your body, and still want to try and improve it. Not out of a place of spite or anger or dislike or even really aesthetic goals, right? Like, it doesn't have to be. It can just be as simple as, I want to be better than I currently am at something. And I don't think there's anything really wrong with that. And I don't think those two things are like mutually exclusive or that they can't exist together. That's kind of my take on it. Anyway, leave me your thoughts down below about it, please. I really, really want to hear from other people because, I mean, your opinions sometimes, what you guys tell me really helps me to better differentiate where like my like flaws in thinking could be and to try and come up with a better, more cohesive, more understanding point of view. So I really do appreciate that. It's not just lip service or me trying to get more engagement. I really actually appreciate this. That will be 100% all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, that's totally okay. Give me a thumbs down. I understand. I respect everybody's opinion here. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the notification down below if you want to know when I upload any videos, and make sure you hit all to be notified of all my videos. I have all my social medias linked down below. I've got Instagram where I have all my food stuff and my life stuff, but I don't have a life stuff, so it's just food stuff. But I'm a pretty good cook, so, you know, there's that content. I've got Twitter where I'm a little bit toxic and a little bit petty, and it's generally the easiest place to interact with me. So if you guys are interested in that kind of content, that's where you can find it. And I've got Patreon. Think of Patreon as the tip jar for the internet. So if you like the job that I'm doing here and you'd like me to continue and you want to toss a few coins in my direction, that's where you can do it. You don't have to. It's not necessary. But if you can, I would really appreciate it. If you would rather become a community member, I would also really appreciate that. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jasmine, the sequel, and I am not relatable. Peace.